And hello, and welcome to AleksConnects Creative Sandbox. My name is Alex, and let's continue our Fanart project Angry Birds vs Transformers. Yeah, let's start. Let's just start. A lot of things to go over today because I kind of figured out that I made a major mistake. So today I'm going to make things right. Yeah. So, what things we need to do right? So the first mistake of the previous session was I kind of stated it during the previous session, but now this mistake after a break actually now more evident. So the mistake that I did, I gone too far. As I said before, we actually need to stay in the grounds of only 5 values, but I've gone too far. And it's pretty hard to tell if this thing is going to work or not when you are going to push that far. We need less information in order to actually decide what's going to work and what's not. So before we are going to get too far, because ideally I planned to detail this more and more, put more information, but the problem is it kind of pretty close to the final rendering, but only in the small resolution, which is not the thing that we want. Before diving into final rendering, we need to make sure that the lighting staging is going to work in terms of the value. So values has to work with the small I don't properly say it. So basically values needs to work with the limited information. If with limited information values are working, then we could go and actually detail things. But for now, I think we need to dive a little bit, I don't know, take a break and actually stop doing what we did before and actually go over it the proper way. So the first thing that I'm going to do is, of course, I'm going to move. So basically I duplicated our value test layer. I created a copy of it in order, I just need something in here. So the whole group, we need to move the whole group. We need our value example present in here. Okay, good. And now we actually don't want to go into too much details because again, made a mistake, going too far, got excited, I don't know. Okay. Again, theoretically, I knew that we need to go through the small values or with limited information, but automatically I've gone a little bit further. That was planned. Oh. So let's create a different layer. And now I actually need to choose a flat brush, as flat as possible. It doesn't have to create any value variations, and actually try to figure it out how it's going to look with only these 5 values. I can't go neither darker neither lighter. It's kind of a problem because I think I need to go darker. Yeah, 13 is not working. Let's go with 5. We can't use 5. Come on. So yeah, let's just go with the 5. What's happening? Because there's a lot of dark things going to be here. Not that a lot of light. $94. Can already have it. Or not. Oh, this one is actually lighter. By the way, we need to put it higher. So this is the lightest one, this is the darkest one for us. Guess? No, not 3. Probably a little bit. Okay, 6. Could work. And now, using these 5 values, we get the middle one. Let's just go with 50. And middles for this one. I actually want to learn to do this, so I want to learn to, because again, we spent on this 2 hours and it's going to be repainted again, so it's kind of a pointless to spend too much time on this small level of detalization in order for them to discard it, because this is a good, like, I don't know, could be a good example of what it could be in the final, but it's not a good way to establish things, or it's not probably the best way to work with experimentation. And I need a little bit more experimentation. I need to understand that things are going to work. So sorry about that. Okay, let's put this one. I need to also make sure. Okay, these are the swatches that we used previously. Think. Oh, current layer. We need to put them in here. So ideally, by the way, we're working making things right, organizing things to make things a little bit easier. Yeah, today I'm not going to talk that much. I kind of need to focus on swatches. Swatches. We have a couple of hours to solve this problem. So throughout the session, I'm going to try different value things, and I actually wanted to make sure that composition is going to work with 5 values, which is going to be a hard thing to do, but I kind of need this because, for instance, right here, I definitely feel that this thing is not dark enough. It needs to be darker, and since we already kind of somewhat render it, it's pretty hard to change something in here because it's already in a particular level of detail, and we don't need this. It just becomes distracting at some point. So I need to stay as simple as possible. This is something that I definitely need to learn how to do, because This is super hard to actually stay simple. I'm constantly want to go further. It needs to be, or push. And at the beginning stages, it's not a very good thing to do. Okay, by the way, let's duplicate our mask. Not from copy, but instead from this one. Let's save before this. I'll just control hold, grab and put it into our layer 80. Good. So yeah, usually when you're working with 5 values, you need to determine in what type of key you are going to draw your work with your illustration. Either it's going to be a low key, high key, or middle key, or full range. Since I'm kind of aiming into full range, I already depicted my darkest darks and lightest lights. So in my work, there's going to be a light thing and there's going to be a dark thing. For the most part, of course, it's going to be like dark is going to be a little bit more dominant, I guess, which could suggest that it could be a low key or at least mid-range, but I don't know. I'm still not sure about these things. I need more practice. So for now, I'm just going to call it a full range, because I can understand it as a full range because I'm going to use a full range value from the lowest one to the biggest one, and I'm not going to use it like. And although, like, again, predominantly I'm going to use for the most portion of the like darks, but I think lights are going to be used as much as the darks. I think let's just call it full range or middle key, whatever. So again, the key here is to work flat. We're not going to try and create pretty picture. We need to create efficient one in terms of the how things are going to look, which make things a little bit harder. And definitely let's choose, by the way, a little bit yeah, I definitely need a different brush, like a marker probably. Yeah, I need something with sharp angles. So again, for now I'm just going to use the same method as I used in here. I know I'm just going to determine the lightest parts of illustration. Now I'm going to add the darkest darks, then the middles, although middle's already in here. Okay, these are going to be the latest lights. Again, the only reason behind this is to understand the overall contrast, how things are going to be separated. It's not that easy. to make sure that every character is going to be presented in a separate and clear silhouette. So Bomb is going to be the darkest one, which will completely erase his lines. Maybe we don't need to go super dark. Let's just try this one for now. Yeah, I think I'm going to use super dark for the shadow areas, because if I'm going to make the darkest character, the darkest part of our illustration the bomb, then shadows are not going to look good. We need to delegate the values. Yeah, this is something that's definitely super hard for me to do. I'm not like accustomed to these type of things. Kind of struggling. Like, I actually need to decide 5 values and properly divide them between characters and make characters best looking in terms of like value divisions. Usually, of course, it's better if you actually study this type of thing. You just taking a particular master painting and then just break it down, this painting, into 5 values. That way, of course, you will become better at this. I don't have this one up my sleeve, so I think I need to improvise. But ideally, it would be the best way. Also, I kind of want to picture these statues actually dark. I think they need to be accentuated. It's not necessarily going to be the exact value that I'm going to use on the statue. Of course, it's going to be less, not that dark. Probably a couple of tones like lighter, but still. I have only 5 values to actually separate these things, and it's not a very easy thing to do. That means that a couple of things are going to actually mesh. Okay then. Okay, shadow areas is going to be the darkest one, I guess. It's not going to look good though. Yeah, it got too dark. Again, let's just try. I kind of want to actually learn how to do this properly, so I want to try this. Actually see if it's going to work or not. Actually, for the most part, this part is not going to be super dark. Or maybe, I don't know. Boom. Again, I think I need to make walls darker. I don't think that they're dark enough. But at the same time, they not going to be darker than the statues, because statues definitely needs to be visible. So either I'm going to make walls the same color as the statues. So dark like this. And statues going to be this color, or this value, or the opposite. So it's like the super dilemma. Because for the most part, transformers are pretty dark in values. They're not light at all. It's not going to be a bad thing if, for instance, this dark character is going to be overlapping with this one, because again, this one is going to be lighter because it's further away. There's aerial perspective who's going to make it less dark. So yeah, I think I need to stay a little bit dark in here. So I think up until this point, floor needs to be darker in here. Because this is one of the only ways how we could create this. It's pretty hard to imagine these things without having proper divisions of the darks and lights. Good thing that I have a little bit of example, but still it's not enough to properly place them. Since the whole floor is going to be changing in value with the perspective, I need to divide it into like 3 zones. Foreground zone, midground zone, and background zone. And each zone is going to be its own value. Probably too much for... yeah. This zone actually needs to be smaller. Careful, careful. Bam. This part is probably going to be the same as... this is our background. For the most part, it's going to be in light. And the whole point of this is just basically save time. And instead of rendering this one, just explore things. And of course, first time that I'm going to do this is not going to save any time. Pretty sure about this. But in time, I hope it will. I just need to make a little bit smarter decisions when it comes down to choosing a proper value. And again, with time, I will become better at this. But for now, okay, we're not going to probably see what's going to be here. Although I would say that Chuck would be probably the lightest one in terms of the value, but I don't want to make him the same value as the table. The same could work with this one, with the bubbles. Bubbles actually pretty close to Chuck. Actually makes him the problem with red, it's not dark at all, it needs to be darker. In values, red are usually pretty dark, although it may appear not dark at all, it's darker than it seems. Cups, I think, needs to be this value. All cups and all plates. Every table accessories is going to be the same for now. Okay, there's no table accessories here. By the way, we need to turn them on. Turn them off. First, yeah, found it. Safe. Whew. I probably need to make this one darker. I think I need to. He's actually going to be super dark. Quintessa. It's not working, but whatever. I could change things. I just want to make sure that silhouettes are going to be readable. Could be a couple of lost edges here and there. The same could go for this part. Again, ideally it needs to be a different value, but still. I know that this is the right thing to do at this stage, but I still need to understand how to properly work with it, so, and actually make it beneficial, because theoretically this is the thing that I need to do at this stage, but what I'm getting out of it, theoretically I know what I could get out of it, but like practically I need to feel it on practice. That's why I'm kind of not sure about this one. It's pretty strange. These things of course need to be less. Because when you're deciding what type of planes you going to name a particular value that you have, it's pretty hard thing to do, especially when you're working with a different with the depth. Because if I had like just single character design, I wouldn't stress about this. It would be much easier because okay, I have only relative foreground, relative background, relative whatever, but now and middle ground. But now I'm actually having too much depth in here, and like part of my brain wants to make everything that's out there lighter because we have a light source there. That means that there's going to be a slighter gradation in here, but at the same time I know that every character has its own local value, and these values are different, and I only have like 5 values to actually decide how to do this. And this is something that kind of throws me off. I don't think that for these type of complex illustrations it would be a good idea to work with this type of thing. Although it's a good exercise, but I don't know. It actually makes me more confusing than answers or particular questions. But the thing is, of course, spending time on this one like 20 minutes and on this one 2 hours, this seems more beneficial because that way we could experiment with different variations of it. And with this, we don't necessarily have time to actually experiment. We need to right away know what we are going to do and right away depict it. So this way is good for experimentation if you don't know what you want, if you don't know where to place light sources, if you're actually trying to figure out how to work around a lighting stage, like staging your lights in a particular position. This one is probably for those who actually 100% sure where to place a particular lights, because like for me, I'm kind of sure, I'm pretty sure that I actually want to place all these lights in a particular position. I definitely know that my main light is going to be here. I definitely know that I will put some type of fire in here. Probably, by the way, I might get rid of this fire. I will think about actually make this fire not visible. I will still depict that fire is present somewhere outside of the scene, but I'm not going to make it visible because that way it's actually kind of creates a distraction and actually makes composition unbalanced. So I'm not going to put fire here. Fire is definitely going to be here. We need this, probably in here and in here, and maybe somewhere in there. So it's going to create this zigzag line or transition, which could be the path to the viewer's eye. Compositional. So yeah, that's why this one kind of seems for me a little bit more sense than doing this one. Because again, if you probably wouldn't know what to do and how to do it, you would probably go with this one. But for me, it's super confusing because there's too many things to actually depict, but not that many instruments to actually do this. So I have only 5 values to suggest 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, well, more than 20 different subjects on different picture, on different, on the different depth, or I wouldn't say on different planes, maybe on the different planes. So again, we have a foreground, we have a middle ground, and we have a background. And should I make all background the same, all midground the same, and all foreground the same? But that way everything in here is going to look strange. This is probably would be a good idea. So for instance, I could use all 5 values only on the background. Let's try to do this. 5 values in the midground and 5 values on the foreground. It definitely would be easier, but the problem is it probably wouldn't work good, because that way I'm just separating things and it's probably not going to look good. And it's not going to help us to actually build the whole composition, because we need to think about the whole picture, not different planes. Okay, let's think. Again, the only reason why I'm doing this, I just want to like test this. I need to understand how to properly work with these type of things. I actually want to learn how to use 5 value to depict a basic illustration composition, value composition, and make it look good. Because again, if it's going to look good in 5 values, it's definitely going to look good in full range, like without a doubt. That way it's much more beneficial, like you will spend less time and create more things than to go over this. And that way you have actually the ability to experiment, which is always a good thing. With this, you not necessarily have the ability to experimentations, because you kind of go in with the flow. You already depicted, okay, light sources here, okay, one type of light sources in here, okay, these are going to be light sources. So you already kind of have all information that you need. But what if I haven't had this information? What if I need to spend less time to actually figure out this? So this kind of thing I want to explore. Because again, the reason why I did this one moderatively good, at least I like how it looks, like comparing how many time I've actually put into this, and the fact that it's done without reference. So wait a minute. Oh no! Where our super information? Yeah, here it is. The only reason why I did this is because of this. Because we actually worked on gathering all information that we need. We asked questions about how to properly stage lighting in our particular illustration by understanding what type of mood we have, what type of special limitations we have, what type of light and its availability, what type of light we have, or lights we have, and is these type of lights are available in our particular setting, are they visible, if it is, what type of lights are actually visible, and of course how many light sources we have. So by asking these questions, I kind of answered with this one, which just seems fine. And for me, this is a logical way to work with this one. That way on illustration. But the problem is, I don't know. I kind of want to explore this one better, because I think there's a lot of potential in working with file value structures before going into details. And I definitely know that there's a lot of potential there, because artists would not suggest this method if it wasn't working. Obviously it works. Maybe not for everyone, and maybe I'm the one who, or I'm one of those for whom this method is not working. Who knows? But I still want to learn how to work with this method, because this is this one is too time consuming. And ideally, if you're working on something personal, it's fine. You always can change things. But when you're working with the client work, and you have a particular deadline, this method is too time consuming. You need to go with something faster. You need to create a fast sketch, or even probably a couple of sketches with depicting what you are actually envisioning in your mind in terms of like value structures, then present it to the client in different versions, let client to choose one, and then go with it into details. This method doesn't work like this. I could spend like 2-3 hours to work on this one, create 3 versions of this, spend another 3 or 4 hours or more, 6 hours on again, put it to the client and let him to choose, and not meet the deadline eventually. So yeah, I kind of need to find a little bit more efficient way to deal with this. And this method that I'm kind of using just works with the local values. I'm not considering the divisions of each character. So how light is actually wrapping around this form, which I could consider though. It's not going to look good either. Let's just try things. I don't know. I need to go somewhere. Somehow I need to figure out how to deal with this. And I understand that I'm creating this problem for myself, so but I guess it's better if you create this problem to yourself, or I don't know, for yourself, and find a way to actually deal with this problem. Then you will stumble upon this problem by working with the client, and you could lose a potential client because you don't know how to solve this problem in a proper way. It's like rendering, but it's not rendering. I don't know. I don't know how to properly call this one. Because I'm definitely not rendering. What I'm doing? The thing is, we kinda need to consider right here and everything. But at the same time, simplify it so we're not going to spend too much time on it. Just kinda already creates dilemma by itself. That's where I guess understanding form would be a good idea. Or not idea, but just a good thing to understand form that you're working with. Oh. The main thing for me is to not start to panic, because when I am trying to imagine what's ahead, after I actually finish this one, my brain is just blows up. And the reason why it's happening is just because, again, I don't have that much experience in these type of things. The more experience I will gain, the more confident I'm going to be in these type of things. Because again, for now, I'm feeling that I'm not like I couldn't handle this. Like I put too hard of a task on my shoulders. Part of me thinks that I could handle it without problem, but the other part thinks that I'm not. I think in the end of creating this illustration, I will figure out what part was right, and I'm leaning towards the one that thinks that I could handle this. Because again, it's all about believing in yourself. If you believe in yourself, then you will make decisions that will lead you to what you wanted. If you're not, you will end up not in the place that you would want. Okay. Again, as I said before, if there's going to be some type of thing in here, it is going to be created from the fire. Okay, we're not going to put fire here. We definitely would put fire in here. And in here too. Of course, this depiction of elements in the scene much faster. The problem with this is you need to be, I guess, experienced to know how to simplify. And in order to learn how to simplify, you need to understand the full complexity of things. You can't simplify without understanding the full complexity. gonna make things not easy. Of course, we could like suggest a nope. The occlusion shadows. But I guess it would be too much. Too much information. Although we could. Okay, I'm not seeing anything in terms of like, yeah. And back. How this is faster than this one, I don't know. I have less information in here, and this information unfortunately doesn't give me everything that I need. Like, I don't know. Bombardi. Ideally, I think working with 5 values in here, in this particular census, for me, unfortunately, not working. I think it would better way to spend time on actually determining a local values for every object and subject within the full range, and that way create this separation. Because working with 5 values in here, it's kind of a pointless for me. I'm not seeing the benefits of it at all, because I'm not seeing what I need to see in here. And probably it's because I'm not using it right, of course. That doesn't mean that this file value method doesn't work. It's going to work if you use it properly. I think I'm not using it properly. I definitely need to dive into this 5 value structure and actually a little bit study it and then go back to it, because like theoretically I get why artists are doing this, but practically I can't put my mind into it. Like, I don't know probably how to properly use it in this particular sentence. Again, if we're talking about like just creating a simple portrait, when we have like, oh, come on, I can't draw this, so let's just go. It's going to be a bad example, but still, kind of want to go with it. Lighting plan. Yeah, for instance, if we're going with a regular portrait, by the way, let's save. So yeah, from far this is actually looks more confusing than solving problems. Again, probably I didn't use it properly. So yeah, if we have a, for instance, portrait we know where the darks of this portraits and where the lights of this portrait, and we're just depicting them. We are choosing the particular masses with the light and particular masses with the dark and creating a particular form. It's not something that, it's not a human form, definitely. I don't know what it is. Whatever it is, it's something. I probably should actually understand what I'm doing here rather than just making something out of nothing. I kind of hope that something good is going to work in here, appear by itself magically. Maybe it is. Don't think so. It's better, I guess, to just show some type of a picture from YouTube, but it could be a copyright problems in here. Let's see what we're going to find in there. Oh, come on. Nope. Don't wanna. Wrong program. Have like 4 browsers. Too much? Nope. Every browser's for its purpose. Okay, opening. Value. So let's just go into search 5 value. Paintings. Maybe we'll find something in there. Google search. So yeah, I think this would be a good example of this. So let's showcase this one. So yeah, so as you see right here, it's actually not that hard thing to do, because like I get this from this standpoint. So like if we're actually going to study a particular portrait, yes, we have a particular divisions, and we're just basically choosing what to divide properly. So this thing is actually works, and I can understand how it's working, because we don't have that much depth in here. We're working with pretty much one picture plane, so we don't have like super big depth in here in terms of like foreground, background, and midground. Almost everything happening on the midground or on the foreground. And there are foregrounds and backgrounds and midgrounds present, but they are super solid, and that's why it's much easier to depict these type of elements when you study. But when you're actually trying to create something like, I don't know, on your own, that's where it becomes problematic, because you need to control these things. You need to learn how to control choosing these values. And when I'm created specific conditions for my illustration, I don't know how to use this in my particular conditions that I'm created, because it's not going to work. Either it's going to be a complete mess because there's too many overlaps, because again, as I said before, I need to think how to create this depth within these 5 values. This is the first problem. Second problem, I need to understand how to compare this value that we are going to get from this creating this depth and properly contrast it with all of our characters in the main focus. That's where it kind of gets to me, and that's where I'm actually struggling in terms of how to properly use this method. I still get that this method is pretty good for studying and actually understanding values on much more better way, but how to properly use it when you're creating something, it's a question for me. Because ideally there are artists that are actually using this method to create something. They are just basically, I guess they just know what they're doing. And this method is good when you're actually sketching something and you not necessarily know what you want to do yet. So for instance, like in here, I just sketching something and just combining values and making things look a certain way. I'm creating a specific like triggers for my brain to pick up on them, and it slowly creates suggestible picture in my brain that I could use to create something from it. I'm not seeing anything in here. Sorry about that. So yeah, I actually don't see anything in here. See nothing. Okay, let's create some type of way. So yeah, when you're painting and you not necessarily know what you're painting, for the explorational sketching, I think this is also a method, because you could, like, you choosing 5 values that you want to work with, you are determining your, for instance, the darkest one, and then you're going with establishing your foregrounds, backgrounds, and whatever. And you're slowly creating something from this one. And you could create pretty interesting things in here. And like, the more information you add, the clearer it becomes. This is the only way how I could, like, think about using this method in creating something on your own. I think with time I will figure out how to use this method better, because, like, for now I think I need to skip it, because this could be anything. So yeah, you could see something in here, like, and actually create from this one a particular composition or a particular painting. You just need to feel, you just need to imagine something in here. I'm not that good in how do you properly call it? In these type of paintings, when you're just messing around and you're starting to see something in here, and then you pick up on this and continue with the full illustration. I like to plan things and actually do things with the particular information. Yeah, experimentational methods. Experimental methods are not for me, or at least I don't know how to work with them properly. Really? It could be anything. I'm actually starting to see something in here. Something sci-fi, maybe? Yeah. Especially something in here. I would probably call these type of paintings imaginative paintings, because you're just making marks and creating strokes, and every stroke adds a little bit more information, and then your brain just starts to pick up on this information and make something out of this information. I kind of want to keep it. I don't know. It's like a snowy, darky, strange thing. It actually could be pretty interesting. Let's skip it for now. Whatever it is. Someone could see in here something super hyper realistic, but again, it's just random strokes placed, then that's it. So I'm not that good in creating these things because I need control, and I don't feel control when I'm creating this one. It's a good thing when you like just go in with the flow and imagining things, and they're just works basically creating it itself. But I better choose a controlled way of creating, because that way I know what I'm going to create, I know where I'm going to put things, but at the same time it kind of makes things hard to actually experiment. Because, okay, since I already know that a large light source is going to be here, here, and here, and here, and somewhere in here, and on top, I kind of already like created too many limitations for me to actually choose a different way of creating it. And maybe there is a good way or better way to creating it, but that would probably involve a complete change in everything at the same time. That way I would need to change the whole composition, place things differently. Maybe not. Again, as I said, I could close these gates, I could put a bunch of lights from whatever directions and lighten it differently. But the problem with this, I would miss the opportunity to use this gateway as the symbolic thing in the story. Because every time that you have the opportunity to create some type of like similar to this composition, you would probably use it. Because like the open gate with the light in it, it's super symbolic. You see this in every movie, almost. Not but almost, but whatever. With the appropriate genre of movies. So that's why this method kind of seems for me foreign. I can't control it. And basically I spent the whole session rumbling about the method that I'm not going to use. Okay, interesting. But again, it's all thing that I need to there's a lot of things that I need to explore, and yeah, I'm still learning something from it, which is a good thing. I hope you will pick up something from it too. That's what I'm streaming this. I hope people could learn from it too, because again, I'm learning from it constantly. Okay, so yeah, this method is probably not going to work. Let's try methods with actually creating a value division. So I'm not going to delete it yet. Maybe it's going to work somehow, I don't know, in the future. Maybe I will see this differently and actually will came up how to make it work. But for now, let's just get rid of it. And actually redo everything. So now I'm going to choose a particular values. So overall mood, at least in this part of the scene, is going to be. So right now I need to think outside of light. So let's assume that there's no light in the scene. Okay, let's assume that there's no light in the scene. Then we're going to see this. No, I'm not. I don't mean that it's not going to be any lights in here. I just want to, like, I don't know how to properly say it. Okay, let's think. So there's no light in the scene, but there is a. Okay, there is a light in the scene. It's just one ambient light. So let's assume that the only thing that we have is just overall ambient light. That's like just the sky, nothing else. There's no shadows, there's no nothing. Usually in these type of conditions, local values are more present. Assuming that there's no shadows, that means that we need to create a specific value for a specific subject in the scene. So let's do that. We are going to start with our darkest one. But it's not a very good idea. Maybe. Statues definitely needs to be a little bit lighter. Probably in 14. Let's try this one. Again, ideally I want statues to be dark. But they still need to be need to create a good contrast with the walls. 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 For some reason I didn't. Maybe it's not supposed to be here. Oh no. Actually 13, but whatever. So again, I need to learn how to work with this properly. So for now I'm just focusing on the local values of every subject. Not independently, but like, for instance, right here we have different subjects, for instance, like the sword and the statue itself, but for now I'm going to keep them as one. A little bit later I will separate them. So let's assume that there's the only light that we have is not ambient light, just area light. Yeah. This one actually needs to be pretty lighten up. 74 would be probably enough. For now, I might change it. Walls definitely needs to be a little bit lighter, but still stay in this dark mood, because again, I want to create the feeling of loss outside of our main focus. Feeling of devastation and all sorts of negative feelings. This way would probably work. Kind of feeling it. I think this method probably will work because I'm using this method this way. Okay, 13. Let's tone it down to probably, no, not that far, 18. Yeah, it could work. It actually could work. I actually needed to start with this one because the most portion of our illustration is walls and slightly pressing stylus to make brush smaller. Huh? What? Again, thinking only about local values. I'm not considering lighting. Let's assume that there's no lights, or at least no direct lights that could create a shadows. The only thing that I'm thinking about is just local values. Because in order to render, we still need to start with local values. The same we're going to work with local colors. So before actually coloring things, we're going to determine local colors, figure out their base, and then understand how this local color is going to change in a particular lighting conditions. Yeah, I definitely had to start with this color because, come on, there's a lot of things to paint over. Most of the values we already have on our canvas, so I don't think that there's necessary to create a separate swatches. So let's just focus on color picking already existing ones. Still need to think about ceiling and should I separate floor and ceiling in value slightly or not? Because ideally they kind of needs to be different, because that way I could create pretty interesting contrast. If I make them the same, it could not work. Part of me wants to make them so from 12 to 13 value. This method is of course much faster than rendering everything, but it could give you more information, I guess, because again, right here there's just too light, definitely too light. This could be too dark. If it's going to feel too dark, I'm just going to create something in the middle. So that way I actually can experiment. But with super rendering way, 2 hours on this one, that's too much. It's too much. Actually, creating super dark part in here, it's going to pop up things too much. We need to find something not that strong. So I guess the general rule, if you want to separate things, you choosing values that far apart from each other. If you want to make things seem closer to each other, then you made slight changes in values. So 11, 18. 18, 74. Clear separation. Not enough separation. These things look as one. This one is definitely looks separate. The rule of thumb, I don't know. Kinda. Okay, now the questions. Do I need to make floor and ceiling darker or lighter? Ideally, if we're actually looking at in the real life, walls are usually a little bit wider, or not wider, but they are lighter than ceiling and floor. But ideally, it all depends what type of things we are working with. So for instance, if our ceiling is just basically with like painted with white, then it of course going to be wider than walls, or lighter than walls, but it kind of receives less light almost every time, unless there's a bunch of reflected lights in there, or bounced lights. So this is a question. Definitely don't want to make it the same though. Okay, let's just make it the same for now, and then I will change it slightly. I will think, let's actually see how it's going to look if I'm going to make floor and ceiling same value. Does it going to work or not? Ideally, to not overpaint everything, I would create a specific layer for it, and then just changed. Maybe let's do this actually. Would be a smarter thing to do. Create a layer for it. Should we need to duplicate this one? No, let's just create a layer and duplicate our transparency mask. So the thing about like drawing and painting overall, I guess you need to learn a way to actually enjoy what you're doing, and this is not that easy when you're overstressing things and overthinking things. And for me, that was a problem right from the beginning. Even now, I'm kind of an overthinker. I'm trying to be less like this, but still. But when it comes down to painting, I'm usually overthinking things, because like okay, whatever, let's just overpaint everything that we have here. It's going to be faster. By overthinking things, for me at least, it creates a sense of control, because like the more I think about something, the more control I have about this. And of course, it's not. If I'm going to, the only thing that I'm going to do is just overthink things and not going to do anything. It's not going to lead me anywhere. I mean, like, efficiently overthinking things with efficiency by doing something, not just overthinking. I hope I already passed this point where I actually, the only thing that I'm doing is just overthinking, and I'm not doing anything. Although I've been in this position for many years. Overthought things, but not done that much work. Now I'm kinda get sick of it. It's time to act. Okay, kinda dark. I would say super dark. But again, there's no light in here. When we're actually going to put direct light from this one and actually create a lamp in here and fire in here, it kind of will make things a little bit more private. I don't know. Intimate. Which could work. Okay, next value. Yeah, kind of dividing them would be a better idea, but let's just skip this one for now. Duplicating mask. The good thing is that we still, even from this far, we could actually see Bomb because he's super dark, which is good. Statues, they are visible, but they are not that visible as the Bomb, which is a good thing because we need to attract attention to a bomb. To the bomb, or to Bomb, I don't know. This is a character. The name of the character is Bomb. Okay, now let's figure out the value for Chuck. Chuck is pretty light value. He's orange. Orange is usually... Let's, by the way, choose a specific orange, or not orange, but yellow, that I'm having in mind, and then that way we'll figure out what type of value this orange has. Yeah, actually Chuck is pretty light, probably 90 values. That's why probably would be a good thing to work with colors at first, figuring out. But again, if you know colors, of course it's easier for you to pick a particular color, figure out the value for this color, and then go with it. It's not always going to be exact. I still need to figure out how to properly analyze the relation of values and colors. How to control them properly. It's probably super light. Okay, so you tell me that tablecloth needs to be super gray. to not create problems with the of course I'll planet white, but I think it needs to be again, not thinking about lights. This thing is supposed to create good silhouette separations. This is the only thing, like, what I'm actually considering. So every character needs to stand out from the crowd or from the overall composition. There needs to be visible enough in silhouette and actually readable, legible from far. Okay, local lights of the table probably are going to be really. So I guess I can't make it too dark. The thing about orange though, it's going to be close to the tablecloth, which kind of creates a problem because it's not going to be enough contrast in here. Maybe I don't need this contrast. Again, I still need to figure out what character is going to be the main focus. So all these characters, they are our main focus or primary focus. But inside this primary focus, we still have 4 characters. And we need to choose what character is going to be the primarist. Or, yeah, you can say like this. Red, of course, is going to be a little bit darker. I still can see even from far the division of orange or bubbles from the tablecloth. It's not. No, actually, kind of makes things a little bit. But at the same time, this one is going to be in the dark. Yeah, so it's going to become darker. And if it's going to become darker, it's going to be the same value. It's not a very good thing. The whole idea was to create tablecloth as white as possible. This would be too dark. Especially when I'm going to make floor whiter. By the way, since all transformers are going to be the same value for the most part, and Quintess I guess too, all of them needs to be with the separate values. In reality, I think I will change it, but for now I'm going to make them the same value. Yeah, I definitely need to make floor lighter. It's too dark. If I'm going to make it darker, it's going to be too close to the statues and they're not going to look good. But at the same time, the lighter I'm going to make floor, it's going to affect characters. Not in a good way. But I guess I need to try. I need to try. This thing actually looks cool. I don't know. It's kind of random thing, but kind of like the result. I don't know. From far, it actually reminds us something. It could be a just background illustration or sketch. Okay. Maybe I need to actually keep it in the middle as it was before. So this way it kind of looks pretty cool. Let's make orange a little bit lighter. It's definitely not going to be as light as Chuck, but lighter. And this one is going to be darker. If I'm going to write with the local values, it's going to be easier to work with the colors. And overall, it's going to be easier to work with the light itself. Understanding how light affects a particular local color or local value. Still feels not enough. Okay, we don't need this one. So, where our Chuck? So yeah, he has pretty light local value. But again, colors right here, they're so bright that they actually like break our precision. Or not precision, but we're not perceiving values the proper way because colors are in the way. I think if I save them and actually color pick them, we will see different results. By the way, let's do this. Why not? Because I still need to analyze this somehow, and let's analyze it. Okay, let's just, I don't know, keep it with all our characters in the mix. That could be enough. And we just save it. Call it 12. I don't know why. And put it onto the battlefield. into the picture. By the way, we have about 12 or 20 minutes left. We need to hurry up. Insert as a new layer. It's on top, and let's actually analyze it. So first what we are going to do is make it black and white. No, let's just go with the color. So yeah, I actually was right. Local color. So how to depict actually local color for orange? Probably this one is closer to the local. Okay, in the dark. In specific lighting conditions, that would be not in the light, but not in the shadow. Somewhere in between. Yeah, 90 for the most part, I think. From 80 to 90. Could make it a little less obvious. Okay, how about red? Again, something in between. Oh, actually red lighter than I thought so. How about bubbles? Okay, right here bubbles is super light. It's even lighter than chalk, which is not realistic. So you tell me that they're going to be separate values with a slight difference? Like bubbles 80, this one 90, and this one like 70. Okay, that's actually good. This one 90. This one is going to be 80. Let's make it 80. No, let's keep it 85. I don't believe that this one actually going to be that light. That's super crazy. Yeah, definitely need to figure out how to work with this properly. There's a lot of colors in here. Okay, this one kind of works. I really don't believe that bubbles is so bright. It's actually the same value. Yeah, I guess they are all the same value. Not all, but at least bubbles and chalk are pretty similar in value. Which will make our job even easier. How about red? pretty hard to depict a local color for him, because like for the most part he is lighting up pretty good from each side. But I think it needs to be darker, definitely. Somewhere in here, in this area. Yeah, I guess 70 works for him. Let's go with the 70. And actually a little bit darker. Oh no, if I'm going to make him darker, our tablecloth is going to be the same. How about the bomb? Yeah, bomb is pretty dark. From 14 to 20. Actually make it super dark. Let's just make it a little bit lighter. Let's make it 11 again. Again, considering the fact that we are going to add shadows and lights, local values are usually something in between lightest areas and the darkest areas. So the darkest area is this one, lightest area is this one, in between area 80, 90 now. It looks more like in between area. And also local colors or values, I guess we need to search them somewhere in between the light and dark part of the so this is the light part, this is the dark part. That means that something in between is going to be the local color and light value. The same for this one. This one in the shadow, this one in the light, something in between. Actually, it's pretty dark in here. Yeah, about 70. But again, if I will make it 70. $91, 74, 70. Okay, tablecloth going to be 80. In between. Again, I'm experimenting with the ways of working with this type of things, so like maybe it's not the right way of going about this, but it seems logical to me at this particular point. Maybe eventually I will use this method constantly and it's going to work for me. At least it kind of works for me now, which is a good thing. When I'm going to go into the, for instance, lighting stages or color stages, yeah, coloring stages and material stages, things could change. But for now, this is working. Okay, part of me actually wants to make things a little bit brighter. I think it's too dark. Get rid of this one. Okay. Okay. Let's stop with layers. Okay, good. So let's make this one, let's say first, and actually make it a little bit lighter. Let's just go with the add filter mask and work with adjusting levels. Slightly adjusting levels. Not from this side, from this side. Okay, good, it's better. Now it's not that, so before, too dark. So it actually works a little bit better. We don't want to completely separate these worlds. They need to feel as one. And if there's going to be too much contrast, again, it's going to create too much separation. Separation needs to be subtle, because again, I want to depict this world as one. We're working with different almost styles, the cartoon one and realistic one, and it's already going to create separation, and if we're going to add the separation with values too, it's going to kill everything. So there's needs to be somewhere some type of a cohesion. I think it kind of works. Yeah, I kind of like how it works though. So 30 probably would be a good choice. This is probably too dark. Okay, let's go with 30 first. Do the same for these things. If it's going to work, we'll keep it. If not, oh no! I actually created them on the one layer. Not a good thing. Okay, let's just separate them pretty quickly. And of course the fastest way to do this is to copy filter mask to it. Okay. Okay. Kind of works, because before that dark value of bomb was constantly fighting the dark value of the transformers. Now transformers are not that dark. It will work better. Yeah, floor and ceiling definitely needs to be a lighter, because if I'm going to make floor darker, it's going to be ruin everything. Also, on the floor are going to be a lot of information that needs to create a good contrast. So for instance, right here, the fact that this floor is moderately lighter than everything that's happening in here, actually makes things better. The only thing, of course, these things needs to be darker. So is the statues, so is the walls. It will make things a little bit more condensed into the center, because right now things are kind of free in here. So there's no suspicion, there's no we don't feel sense of like threat. I don't know, don't feel threatened from it. It's just like, okay, there's a light, that's it. This one kind of makes things a little bit more uneasy, or I don't know how to properly call it. By the way, their heads are going to turn into the, and actually they're going to look at Transformers or at Angry Birds. This is something that I definitely need to, I'm going to work with their poses on the final stage, final sketching or final line art. Yeah, okay, this is definitely intimidating. Right here we don't feel this intimidation because their lights are not contrast enough. Don't create enough contrast. Everything is light. Yeah, I kind of felt that this one is too light. There's too much light in there. Definitely needs to be a much darker mood around and much lighter mood in here. Good, good. And I think, I don't know, since this is kind of the end of the session, maybe on this note I need to just finish because, oh wait a minute. We lost the color change in here for some reason. Why? Because I probably went back and erased filter mask. Now filter mask is there. Yeah, probably keep it this way because like red is pretty clear, his silhouette is pretty clear because there's a lot of darkness around him. Bubbles, not clear enough, but Bubbles are not main focus, he's just comic relief. So this one is actually most visible, Chuck, because he is the one who kind of gets the attention for the most part, because he's clumsy and funny and whatever. Bomb is hidden. So actually values are telling the story in here, the type of story that we need them to tell. So Bomb in our story is hesitant. And values are supporting it because he's kind of hidden in between. We partially see it, not necessarily seeing it completely, but it's still visible. This one is all over the place, mostly chaotic, and it shows. He is super visible. In terms of a value, we see it the first time. Again, this one unpredictability, this one is freedom. Again, from the close-up, we could separate tablecloth from this one. Actually, I will separate it by adding additional value to it. Let's do this, by the way. Pretty cool. Yeah, without sketch, it looks pretty interesting. What I wanted to do, I wanted to, yeah, sketch, oh, exactly this. Actually want to create a thing in here. It's definitely going to be a different value. And I guess next session I'm going to separate them a little bit better in terms of the values. So this separation is kind of enough for the whole picture, but to actually showcase them a little bit better, I'm going to separate different parts of them. So for instance, I'm going to color the sword in a different value. I'm going to create different values for separate parts of the body for these elements, and these are going to be pretty important for us. Because, yeah, I'm not going to dive into details yet, but this is definitely important information. So for now, things kind of work. So again, red is feeling tension, and this tension kind of works in here. Value vase. Yeah, I think we'll keep it this way. I think kind of works. So the surroundings are kind of dark, but not too dark. They are creating pretty good contrast with this, and again, I'm remembering the fact that I'm going to put lighting to it, so after I will lighten them up, things are going to change. This thing probably would be a little bit lighter, maybe. If not, it will definitely create this lighting feeling and depth. So this part is going to be a little bit darker. In the metal stays the same value, so we are going to maintain contrast of our main characters, which is a good thing. Things a little bit going to, yeah, in terms of the walls, things are going to change too, so parts of the walls in here will receive light. Right here light is going to be less, so right here actually going to be a darker. So yeah, I think potentially it could work. So yeah, that means that on this note, we are going to end this session slightly, slowly, and actually going towards the end. So again, as you see, like throughout the session, I kind of struggled with dealing with this type of thing. Eventually, I still used the method that I had in my mind, but I just basically slightly changed it. So instead of actually trying to work with 5 value scale and create and use this full values or this 5 value scale to actually create the same that, so basically this thing, instead I used full ranged scale to do this. That way I established almost every local value for almost every subject in my scene, which will make my job easier. Because now I know that where the middle part is of this value. So I know that right here walls are not going to be darker. They're going to be lighter in here and darker in here. But right here in this area they're going to stay the same, or approximately the same. Same goes for the table. In the light area, table is going to be approximately this value. Right here is going to be a little bit darker. Right here is going to be a little bit darker because it's going to be on the shadow area. Same for these. Same for the statues. Parts of the statues are going to be lighter, parts of them darker, but for the most part their local value is determined, which will make things so much easier. The hardest job is going to be to actually create all these things in the final line art, because every design element that we're not designed in here needs to be designed there, because right here we didn't design specific things because we don't have enough pixels to actually design them, so we're kind of restricted by the level of detailization. But when we're going to make it full scale, I will definitely realize the whole problem. Like, my mind is going to be blown with the information that I need to put in. Now every part of the plate is going to be important, because now we're going to have a full scale work. I'm not going to go too much in the full scale. I probably will stay in either full HD resolution or 200. I don't want to go too far, because again, this is just a fan art illustration, and I don't want to make it super high res. That way I actually will save more time, because the more high resolution we are going to make this work, the harder it's going to create it, because the things that they don't need detalization still needs to look good with the in the close-ups, or at least create an illusion that we need to depict. So yeah, okay, I'm going to leave this hard thinking and on later when we're actually going to face these problems. For now, let's just keep it on this one. By the way, I'm kind of yeah, my voice is kind of down, although I didn't talk too much, but for some reason my voice is down. Whatever. So again, this one gives me more information than this one, and it's much faster to create when you're just basically asking the right questions. So okay, I need to determine the local values for every part of the scene, for every subject, in order to understand how they're going to fit together. This is the only questions that one big question that I had, and throughout the session I kind of answer it. Not fully, but at least I answer it the way that I wanted to. I used limited number of detalization by just picking a local values of each subject. I decided what type of values are going to be relevant for them and make them fit overall composition. So even from far we can see that these are separate. And right here they're kind of go as one. But actually right here they're kind of separate too, but not that separate. But again, the more details we're going to add, the less obvious it's going to look in terms of the values, but I still know that I will add color, and as I showed previously, by adding color in here, it's definitely completely will change the whole picture, because again, everything around is going to be for the most part muted. With the muted colors, we're not necessarily going to see any colors in there, and the same is going to be for the tea party itself, but the characters, they're going to be vividly colored, and this way they are going to be the thing to look at, the main focus. So yeah, let's definitely finish this session on this note. So yeah, thank you for watching, thank you for being here, have a nice day or night, and see you in the next session. Bye bye.